Now, can you give me a short example of what a movement learning break may look like? The reason why I wanted you to give me just a example is because we have learning styles. And I think sometimes as educators, we forget that students do have different learning styles. And to be able to move that kind of static, even if that's not my primary learning style, sometimes I have to disconnect. And you call it that break. If I'm having that mental break and I'm doing something that requires movement, then I get to reset. And so if you could share just an example that someone listening could then take and utilize in their classroom, because they may not have thought about, oh, when I give the student the break, let it be a movement break versus just, I'm letting them have a break and they could still be doing something that's not really movement. But if you could share an example with us.
Exactly.
I have an idea. If this sounds good to the group, but I can kind of set it up from the, how we set it up, and then you could hear from the actual teacher that had it embedded, and then the administrator having the feedback from the teachers where it's happening might be a very impactful approach, if that's okay with everybody.
Yes.
All right, sounds good. So we basically have 3 levels when it comes to movement-driven learning, and that's also in the Healthy Learning Cultures Guide. But level 1 is just a standard brain break, typically 1 to 5 minutes. It's not academic focused, but still classroom management. Like you heard Ms. Leivas say, they have a break. It could be anything from I saw them do a heads up 7-up in 3rd grade. They did standing paper, rock, scissors in 5th grade. Our student athletes would come in, introduce themselves, and the classroom just erupted in cheers and celebrations and connectivity. But getting to pause for a moment at that level 1 was great. Then they came back the next week at a level 2, which we call energizers. And that's where we met with the classroom teacher and asked them what they were teaching that day. So we had a history lesson, a science lesson, and a math lesson. And so then our students and the teacher would get together and create a 3 to 5 minute brain break, but it was level 2, meaning we included math into the activity. So an example would be like math gymnastics, or like social studies. We did like a answer a question and you got to shoot a basket with trash on the floor, called it trashketball. Very creative things, but the kids got to reinforce their learning while doing a physical activity at the same time. And then the last level is, which we haven't done yet here in these classes, but the last level for educators would be how to make a fully integrated lesson plan, including movement-driven learning, with level 1 and level 2 opportunities. And so, Mr. Gilbert, you want to take it from here, or Ms. Leivas as a teacher or administrator? But that's kind of the setup for as the professor is designing it, and here comes the implementation, which is amazing.
I think from my perspective, what we did is we looked at classrooms and we targeted classrooms that needed support, and both working with our teachers as well as our students, because when you're looking at a grade 3 and a grade 5, those are opportunities for them to start to build the idea of how to not only manage your classroom, but manage your classroom effectively. So it's not just they're taking a break, put your head down and relax for 10 minutes. They're actually getting something out of it. And one of the moments that I shared with the group, they were in a 5th grade class, and the student and Dr. Hesse and I shared a moment with this. One of the students asked a question and said, "What was your favorite part of being here?" And he said, "You." And I was like, that's it, game over. That you hailed it. Like, I mean, that's the reason why we do all the things that we're doing. I mean, that's the home run. And it wasn't staged. It wasn't planned. The kid asked the Ottawa student, and to me, that everything that we're doing made sense right there.
Oh, that is so impactful, Matthews, to have the students say you.
Yeah.
I don't know what the teacher's dreams are, but I would think that would be every teacher's dream. When you ask your student, what was the most, your favorite part of today? What was the most impactful thing that you learned this week? And you say you were the most impactful, and the fact that you're the person that taught me. I mean, You can't ask for anything more.
And that's
But
just bringing
hearing
the
how,
connections together. Yeah.
yeah, and I can see that, and I can see with the levels. And then, as Shane said, when you get to that level, I'm gonna call it 3, where you're integrating movement-driven learning into that lesson plan. It's almost like you can't lose,
Right.
because you
Yep. That's it.
have sort of systematically gotten the student accustomed to that component. And it's like now it's like a sponge. I want more of it. And you couple that with the true academics that teachers are having to teach and students will be tested upon. And it's a win-win.
Absolutely.
So, our time is almost up. But now, Diana, I've been waving to everybody. Thank you, everyone, for joining me. I can't do the names today because I've got a whole laundry list, but we do appreciate your joining us. And I know some are here supporting who are probably source athletes, student athletes who are actually working in. Hello, Adrian. I got a couple people in Jacqueline. Jacqueline P2 has joined us, and Adrienne Devasto. And some of you may be teachers, some of you may be parents who are also trying to gather this information, because you know how important it is for our students to be successful and for our schools to be healthy. And again, as I said earlier, it takes everyone to be a part of that village and build that quilt that's going to support our students. So, Diana, for those students, no, Diana, my question is shifting. For those teachers who did not come with either your experience having worked in the SOAR program and working in the schools last year as a student athlete, and now you're a first-year teacher. There are first-year teachers who are going to listen to this. I can think of one that I know who's related to me that are going to listen to this. What piece of advice would you give them as it relates to incorporating the movement-driven learning into their classroom? Maybe they can't do it every day, but at least once or twice a week. What advice would you give them?
Start small. I mean, we can always do level 1, brain break, get the kids out of their seat. I mean, all day the students are sitting in their seats, and studies show that movement drives cognitive function. So it's very important that some way, at least if it's once a week, to implement students getting out of their seats and getting that movement in.
So it is, just incorporating it. And I was thinking about Shane with I think he said social studies, and I was thinking about math, and I was thinking about different ways that you could actually have the students up, depending upon what the lesson is. Certainly in social studies, they could be acting out a component of the lesson. And even with mathematics, sometimes we use manipulatives to help them to learn a concept. They could become the manipulative, but we have to think outside the box, because if they're the manipulative for a component, then that means they're moving. But as you said, studies show that movement does correlate with increased learning. So we just have to think outside the box. And what I'm also getting from you is that when you say start small for teachers, first-year teachers, they're on a learning curve. They're not going to know everything, but stay encouraged. Look for resources that can support what they're doing. Also, as we come to a close, I'm going to give each of you an opportunity to leave some parting words with our audience about any challenges that they may perceive and how they can address those challenges. As Matthew's already said, as it related to his school, he had the data. And once the SOAR program was implemented, he had the data after the program was being implemented, and he could show those at the school that the program was making an impact. And the teachers knew that it was making an impact because they could see it. But again, sometimes it's a challenge to make change, and change occurs slow. Matthew, you hinted at, well, you didn't hint, but you basically indicated you've had two different principles that this program has been implemented under. Well, yeah, if I'm the new principal, if you can show me the data, I'm like, yes, we're going to keep this program. But I'm data driven, and most people are. But again, it was a program that I didn't bring there. And sometimes people are not as open to continuing something. So I want each of you to think about, from your perspective, Shane, you're at the university level. You know, now you're a first year teacher, Diana, and you're an administrator, Matthew. People are thinking, I want to do this, but how do I do it? Because they're thinking about all the challenges to being able to get something like this implemented at their school. I want you each to give them a piece of advice about how it can work. And I know that you guys are going to offer your services, because I'm going to give you an opportunity to tell them how they can contact you at the end. But what you can do, what they can do at this moment in time just to get started. So I'm going to start with you, Shane.
Can I defer to Mr. Gilbert
Yes,
to
sir.
start it out? I think if that's okay with you,
Yes, sir.
I'll close it up. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I think just what I would say, and Diana's kind of mentioned it too, is start small, and then just make sure you're tracking all the information that you need. I think it's an opportunity to collaborate, and it's an opportunity to. There's a challenge regardless. There's a challenge if you're facing discipline. There's a challenge if you're facing mentorship, especially at the K-8 level. My dream and aspiration and my vision is to make an impact with each and every student, but I can't do it alone. Bringing in the University of Ottawa and working with student athletes like Diana, and then having the opportunity to now bring her in as a teacher. I mean, she's amazing. And having the opportunity, I wouldn't have had that opportunity if SOAR wasn't there. And having there's so many layers to how this can be successful. And it's not selfishly, it is for me, the discipline side, the positive communication, all the positive things that come from it. But the benefits are now I get to work with Miss Leivas every day as a classroom teacher. We have another University of Ottawa student that we've hired on as a teacher. We have a number that are going to do like internships for athletics. So there is a benefit for the university as well. And bringing in young student athletes to make an impact is what I'm here for. And looking at the bigger picture and the vision, and, you know, just like you said, with targeted goals in school, things that you need to, your CIP and the continuous improvement program, you are going to hit those goals by working with organizations like this. And that's what I would always look at the bigger picture and the bigger value that you're getting. Yes, there are challenges, but there are strategies and ways that it can work. And we are living proof that it is working.
Thank you, Matthew. And you are living proof, because you're in year 2 of implementing the SOAR program at your school, and the student data is showing that it is successful. So I know that you're going to continue to implement it. And guys, this is an example. It can make a difference, and he is in his 2nd year of implementation. Diana?
Like I said, I think it's really important to start small for those teachers, and by starting small, you could play music and get them out of their seats. You can, we can go to level 2 and we can integrate our learning into it and make like in my class, SOAR had a ball, and we had 2 lines, and we did like a multiplication problem. So whoever answered first got to take a chance to hit the target. So it's like being creative and trying to think of how can I get my students out of my seat while also incorporating learning. I know it's not easy, or it's not really possible for those other schools to get college students out as easy as we are now. But I think really showing examples of maybe like college students and really exposing students to accomplished athletes and people in life, I think that's really inspiring and motivating for students.
And, you know, what I'm hearing there is there's always resources. We may have to think a little bit harder, because as you said, everybody won't have a university that's that close to them. I think about where my parents actually lived we have a community college, but we don't have a university that's close to us. But it doesn't mean that the teachers in my home school system can't be creative. They can bring in former educators that may have retired to help do some things to support what they're doing. I love the example you gave about using the ball to hit the target when you're learning multiplications. And we know that multiplication tables are so important. And the way that students learn them now is so totally different from how I learned them. But I want them to learn them the way I learned them, but that's Dr. Tas being old, I guess. But but at least I want them to know it because it's so important, you know. So I like that you were sharing some practical strategies that teachers, whether they're new teachers or novice teachers, I should say, or they're veteran teachers, they can implement it slowly but surely, starting small. And who would think, oh, use the ball. If I get my multiplication, and this is what I'm interpreting what you said, if I get my multiplication answer correct, I get to throw the ball at a target. Oh, that, you know, everybody wants to throw the ball. I don't know what the target is, but everybody wants to throw the ball. Mm-hmm. So that is a really good strategy for teachers to utilize. So thank you so much, Diana. Shane, I'm throwing it to you now.
All right, I'll close this up. First thing from my lens is the trust I had in my students, like Miss Leivas, and there was 11 others in that classroom. We call them the OGs of SOAR. That we all collaborated together to put this in motion. So trust is a huge thing. They have to have trust in me and vice versa. But then we have to take it to Mr. Gilbert's school, right? And I've never met him before. So that trust became just like we do in education. We make connections before we deliver content. The same thing happened here. We built relationships, and these relationships will persevere for a long, long time. But that trust in the administration, the students, it has gone a long way. Be flexible. Besides the trust, be flexible and open to creative mindsets to be able to put this together. Find the place in your community. The three of us are open to help guide your specific school or college or community center, whatever you have to help kind of keep this going. But I also had to trust the deans of our college, and they got to come out and see it firsthand. And so next week we're presenting to the entire educational community of all three of our campuses, and we're going to be doing a similar thing to show that this can be done with the trust, the communication, and the flexibility and creative mindsets. And you guys know that if you don't have a junior college or a main college nearby you, we have a lot more flexibility at the college level than the high school settings, but there are opportunities, and we can help kind of make those connections to promote a healthier future. I think I'd close it like this. The second most impactful thing that I shared today was Miss Leivas' story. And that was, she was a student in my classroom. We trusted each other. We created a program. She reached out to Mr. Gilbert. The three of us got together. We created a program and we implemented that program. She then got a job at that school after she graduated and is now implementing the program into her classroom that she started the program at. And for me to share that story with any educator at any level, it just hits home and fills our heart tanks. And I want to celebrate the students in my classroom currently, the 80 that we are out there grinding what we started, and now 3.0, and helping children with disabilities and helping in administration and sports programs and the recess, to our original 12 OGs in the classroom, to the administration at Kingswood and their district personnel that have gotten together to help with extra fingerprint clearance and volunteer badges and everything else, and the deans of my college to be able to put all this together. I just truly, it's a blessing, and I appreciate everybody. And thank you, Dr. Tas, for bringing this all together.
Oh, absolutely, Shane. And, you know, I'm just smiling like I'm a parent of all of this. Because, you know, when you think about all the moving parts, but you guys did it. And so I want the audience to understand it can be done because there was a lot of layers that you guys had to move through in order to make recess accessible for everyone. You understood the importance of the community. You got all of these different communities really to come together. You've got the college community, you've got the student athletes, you've got the school, you got the parents, and every community within that school to come together, and the district to come together and to make this happen. Because we know it's no simple feat to get through the fingerprinting process and getting the background clearance, because that is so important now. But you guys did it. And what you've done is, through this whole process, you created a culture where stakeholders understand the importance of movement as it relates to students' whole body well-being, as well as that whole child. And you're making a difference one student at a time and one school at a time. And now we got 2 schools that we're making a difference in. So my thing is kudos to all of you. And for the SOAR members that have joined me, because I know some are SOAR members, I saw that when Diana was speaking to some of them when we first started. Thank you so much for coming and supporting Diana, Dr. Hesse, to you guys, and Mr. Gilbert, to you guys. Thank you so much for supporting them, because the work that you're doing is so important. So kudos to you guys also. There may have been a few family members that I may have seen named in here too. Thank you for supporting your family member who's been on my show today. And those who just come out and support me all the time. I saw your names there too. Thank you so much for joining me today. Now I'm going to give each of my guests an opportunity to tell you guys how you can contact them, because they got a wealth of information. And they want to make sure that students are being successful, not just in Arizona, but across the country. And they are open to helping you to be successful in your school. So I'm going to start with Diana, and then I'm going to go to Matthew, and then I'm going to let Shane tell us how folks can contact him.
Yeah, so you can contact me by my email. My email is dianaleivas7@gmail.com. And I'm open to any questions that you guys may have.
Thank you, Diana. Mr. Gilbert?
Happy to reach out. And anybody has any questions, anything I can do to support. I'm super big in growing all the things that we are doing, and mentorship and leadership is something that our youth needs more than ever now. You can reach me at matthew.gilbert@dysart.org. Don't hesitate to reach me out through Instagram, and then I'll turn it over to Dr. Hesse and close us out.
Sounds good. Thank you, guys. I do want to leave us with one thing, too, and then I'll give you the website you guys can go to. One thing we forgot to mention is Kingswood Elementary has a program. It's called the SHIELD program. And so positive behavior interventions, they give out cards for things that students do well. Well, if they receive a card, we have connected them, Mr. Gilbert, myself, and some of my students have connected with the head coaches at the college. So those students get to go to our college games, and thank you to our athletic director and everyone else. They get to go to those schools, college games, baseball, football, volleyball we've had so far for free, and to take their parents and community. We've put up Kingswood Elementary on the Jumbotron at the school game for baseball. So it really has come full circle on a very embracing each other's community. And if you guys would like to know more, we are writing a book on this, so that will be coming out, so stay tuned. But we do have that in our Healthy Learning Cultures Guide, and you can find that and my contact information on healthylearningcultures.org. So it's healthylearningcultures.org.
Well, that was a good note to leave us on, Shane. And thank you for everyone who's still joining us. And Nana's, I'm going to mispronounce all of this. Nana, I'm just going to say Nana. She said, very impressive work. Keep it up. You know, I remember when I worked my first job in counseling was in an alternative school. And I was amazed that students hadn't traveled from one city to the next. And I took a student to the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. They'd never been to Chapel Hill, and Chapel Hill was probably like 30 minutes away. And so when you talk about the students being able to go to the college campus and see the games and the names of their schools up on the, the Megatron, that is so impactful because you're changing those kids' lives. You're changing the lives of those parents. And I don't want people to take that for not a big deal, because it is a huge deal. Because we sometimes just take it for granted that everyone's had the same opportunities that we had. And as either Shane or Diana talked about, the athletes are saying that this is who I was when I was in the third grade, you know? And so even for them, it's coming full circle. So again, kudos to everybody for everything that you're doing. Kudos for the SHIELD program, Mr. Matthews, because that's making a difference in those families' lives. And I just applaud all of you for the work that you're doing. And I did hear that plug, Shane. Y'all writing the book. That shameless plug. I know that when you get your book finished, you're going to let me know so you can come back and share it with my audience, correct?
Will do. Will do.
Well, thank you guys so much for being with me today on Talk With TAS. Thank you for everyone that joined us again. We really appreciate your support. And my sign off has never changed and is not going to change. Before you take care of someone else, make sure you take care of yourself first, because there's a lot to be done to support our schools, but you can't help our schools if you're not whole yourself. So make sure you take care of yourself. And again, guys, thank you so much for joining me today on Talk with TAS. Bye now.